Hi guys, Claudia Boleyn here. Today is video number 5. I am a quarter of a way through the process, amazingly, and I haven't missed any yet, which is great. Yeah, the reason I sound out of breath is that I have like hot-footed it up the stairs. Just come back from Grandma and Grandad's house where I go and have lunch with them every Wednesday when it's therapy day, and yeah, brought the stuff in and realised I don't have much time, but I have to make a video, and I also have a deadline tomorrow, so so one of my deadlines is for tomorrow, and then another deadline is the 1st of April, so it's only a few days afterwards. So don't do 2 years of the same course at the same time, friends. Like, I thought, oh, it's fine, it'll be fine, I'm good at this, I can do it. It will exhaust you. It's too much. But yeah, I've only got to make it for like another couple of months, so I can do it, but honestly, like, when I started this course I did not anticipate I'd also be doing like therapy and all that kind of thing, so it's a bit of a nightmare, but it's training for later life, I suppose. Anyway, all that aside, yeah, today's session was okay. I really needed it because last night I had like such a bad, weird night. So I get super high. Like super highs, not like drug high, not drug high, but like super high. I have no idea what being high on drugs feels like, but I can't imagine feeling higher than the high that I get, so I imagine like that maybe. Who needs drugs when you have mental illness? Actually, usually the mentally ill. You need prescription drugs, friends, but none of that other stuff. Yeah, I just wrote a load of stuff down, and it got to the point where like I feel invincible and like, oh, I'm just gonna like leap into the sky and fly away, and oh, I just want to run around the neighbourhood even though it's like really late at night. It's like I feel like nothing is enough. Nothing is enough for me. Everything is just far too slow. I just want to eat the whole world. It sounds really weird to talk about. I still kind of am feeling it now. Like, I've been feeling it like on and off, like, you know, because I feel like a million emotions a day. But like, especially like, okay, so why... Right, I'm taking a pause. See, I'm using my techniques from today's session and last week's session to distance myself slightly because I'm getting a little bit too out there. So, now the reason, I'm not blaming my issues on this. No, it's a wonderful thing, in fact. I have actually been recording. I'm making a video essay for this channel, which is actually about the Umbrella Academy. Now, I haven't made a video about the Umbrella Academy before, simply because I've kind of just got super into it and I realised I have to make a video essay on this. So I've written out like a proper video essay and I'm putting it all together because honestly that show for people with mental illness, for people who have like, perhaps they're from a dysfunctional family unit, perhaps there's been trauma in the family, anything like that, that show is just amazing and it's put me on a real high because with me, like, I get super high. When I see a piece of art, but in terms of like TV, like I just, so exciting. Anyway, that show, it's changed my life. So yeah, I've been happy, which doesn't usually happen with me, but yeah, I've been like super high and happy because of this amazing show. Not just this amazing show, I'm also like, as I'm learning in the therapy as well, it's like lots of stuff adds together and it makes you a bit of an emotional mess. So I'm obviously really stressed because I've got loads of deadlines and it's coming up to the end of the year, so everything is like coming really thick and fast, and I've got this exam coming up which I'm revising for already, which, oh, it's just so much stress and deadlines, and I've been trying to get a first, but it's so annoying because I've been on like a level to get a first. Now my last couple of assignments on my level 2 part of the course have only been on a 2-1. So I can still make it up to a first, but it's becoming like more and more difficult and it's so frustrating because this is my perfectionism again, one of my filters from another week. I just push myself so hard because I know that I can achieve a first, but I also have to understand, and I did this to myself in sixth form, even when I was only there for like, I think I was only there for half or perhaps less than half of the time, I still like hold myself to these super high standards, and I just have to like understand and accept that I am going to have different struggles to other people. So yeah, I do get like real down periods where I do find like the studying hard, not like intellectually hard, but in terms of like the motivation. When you're really like suicidal or low, it's really hard to study and it's hard to kind of make yourself do anything, to be honest, let alone let alone sit and work. So it's actually a huge achievement. And I keep telling myself this, and I've been writing this down, like affirmations, that actually it's amazing. It would be amazing to come away from this degree with a 2-1 because you're someone who's had loads of struggles. See, I know some people say, oh, you know, you're missing out on so much because you're not a student at like a university away from home. It's still like, it is a university, like it's on University Challenge. The Open University on University Challenge, so I could never do that show, by the way. Jeremy Paxman is so intimidating and sometimes rude. Also, I take issue with the questions on that show. Like, I'm sure it's like off topic, but it's like, it's very like elitist and like, oh, identify this classical music and this classical painting. But they wouldn't just like play music off the charts or something, you know. It's like a very specific type of, there's a lot of academia is very up itself. That's something I've learned. But anyway, yeah, so the Open University, it's a real university, but it's a different experience because I'm not living away from home and I'm not getting up to all those student hijinks that that Dan is, for example. But yes, last night I felt the need to, I just wanted to like ascend. I thought, it's time, I need to leave this fleshy prison body and just be free. And actually that's quite dangerous because people think that being really high is like great because it makes you happy, but actually it's not happiness, it's like this agitation, and then you feel trapped within your own body and you start getting more and more dangerous because then you start thinking like, oh, nothing matters because the world isn't real. I'm just going to like fly off and leave my consciousness, or leave my body behind. My consciousness will fly off. It does not matter what happens to my physical form. And that is when you're the most dangerous because you don't feel pain or anything like that. You're just super, super high. Like, it is actually quite dangerous. It's probably more dangerous in some ways than the really, really low depression. Or, I don't know, actually. Maybe it's kind of neck and neck, but there is a danger when you feel like you're not attached to anything and like nothing is real and oh, here I go, I'm dissociating. Anywho, as promised last week, I did a collage. Yes, friends, let me put it on the screen for you. Here it is. Yes. So it's supposed to be something that makes me feel calm, so there's like lots of flowers and natural imagery, and I didn't mean to kind of compose it a bit like a sort of Lady of Shalott style thing, but it kind of became that because that's just what goes on inside my head. Yeah, just skies and a swing and a hand, and this part was originally particularly phallic. I had to get rid of some of that. What's going on in my subconscious? But yeah, and I also found powerful and put powerful on it because I need to learn to be more powerful and assertive. Probably don't need that message today, considering how up I am. So to be honest, today was more of like a recap kind of thing. It's just trying to drill into us the stuff that we're already learning. So it's communicating part 2 today. So it's literally just the same communicating checklist as before. So you are willing to feel all your emotions, whether they feel good or bad, such as anger, sadness, joy. Your feelings are valid, even though your thoughts may be distorted. You do not judge your feelings. Your feelings are neither good nor bad. You refuse to use labels, and you feel all your feelings. I sure do. So this is something that we do. I think I can show you this. I mean, it's pretty generic. Maybe if I show it quickly, it'll be fine. I'm sure it's fine. So basically we do a thing called the emotional intensity continuum, and they're actually surprisingly difficult to fill out because you've got 5 sections, and they're kind of like, there's like pictures of like a boiling pot boiling over, and there's like steps from 1 to 5. So if we have emotional intensity disorder, we will notice the thing when it hits a 5, but really there are stages that get you to the 5 stage. So for example, we will feel super high like I was feeling last night and how I'm kind of drifting up and down in today, or you'll feel super low, but we don't really notice the in-between things. So this kind of encourages you to look at your feelings on a scale of 1 to 5, your physical sensations, your thoughts, your filters, your action urges, and your behaviours. So I filled one of these out today actually in the session because today is the first time that, well, we've been asked to do these every week, but I feel like today is the first time I've actually properly understood it. Like, I have been doing it, but because a couple of other people gave their examples today, I feel like something clicked in my head and I kind of got it. So the idea of this intensity continuum is that you start, after you've filled this in and you get used to it, you start to do the steps automatically in your own head. Actually, there was a guy who had done the steps program either last year or the year before, who came in to like answer some of our questions, and he said that it had changed his whole life. So that made me feel really hopeful and excited. And nice to see that he just seemed like a nice, normal, sorted guy. So that's the goal, friends. So the one that I filled out today, which I want to go through here, this may be relatable to you, it might not be, but it's good for me, and it's kind of embarrassing, and I have to get over the embarrassment, because I'm still not someone who talks about individual like feelings and things in a session. Like, I can't do that. Like, there are some people in our group who are able to do that, and you probably think, oh, that's ridiculous. You tell your innermost thoughts and feelings to the internet all the time. But it feels very different in a group setting, for me anyway, like being there in person. So yeah, I just, I worry about that. So I didn't like actually say this, and most people, when they were filling out these cards, were filling them out for emotions like really bad depression or getting suicidal. So basically, I feel one out today based on last night. So last night I got quite suicidal, but not the usual depression suicidal, but the high suicidal, where I actually felt like I had to like get out of my body, like I was trapped, I could not get out of my body, like I needed to move and the world was too slow, and I just needed to be free. So I'm going to try and like explain the feeling. So you have to sort of talk about the event that triggered it off. Now, it's not just one event that triggered this off, so obviously I am excited because I am getting super obsessed with Umbrella Academy, which I love and feel seen by, and one of my favourite characters of all time I've been introduced to through that show, and his name is Klaus Hargreaves, and yeah, that video will be up on the channel really soon. Yeah, it's my first like video essay thing I've ever done, so I'm quite excited about putting that up, so yeah. But there was that, there was a great episode of Emmerdale last night, a wonderful double date, a comedy double date between Rob, Ron and Vanity. That is the bisexual and lesbian female couple and the bisexual and gay male couple, so that was great. Also, as I said, I'm like very stressed, so when I'm very stressed I'm much more prone to getting the extreme highs, because it feels like the kind of nervousness and the constant on edge and I have to be doing something, oh my god, it kind of spirals into that. So yeah, it's not it's not one of those things. Like, sometimes, for example, it can feel like it's, oh, I watched a TV show and now I've gone absolutely like, oh my god, I'm so high. I used to get that after watching Merlin when I was younger, actually. I used to get this absolute feeling of like euphoria, and like I couldn't, like, oh my god, I couldn't contain it. But it's not actually like the show. It's a sequence of things, and it's like, it just, whew, it catapults you. But I don't think this is something that I ever want to like tone down with me. Like, these aren't feelings I want to get rid of, because I'm a creative person and I do art and I write a lot, and I have to be in that sort of really hyper creative mood to write my best stuff. So it's not something that I want to lose, it's just something that I want to control when it gets too extreme. So yeah, I think it's important that feeling like this isn't bad. Like, feeling super, super intense is not a bad thing. It's just bad when it gets to the point where, for example, on this chart, a 5, where you suddenly end up being really suicidal. If I can just keep it down to the 4, or when I hit the 4, I can step back and be like, okay, I'm just going to take a short break. That would help. I know it's a bit of like a stereotype, and I'm not someone who believes in, you know, oh, you have to be like mentally ill to be like super creative, and I don't believe in that, because being mentally ill can actually stop your creativity at times, because you get low periods as well, especially with this disorder. When you're low, your creativity goes right down. But in some ways I do feel quite lucky in a way, because I do have access to bigger emotions than many people will ever kind of experience in short times, so it can be helpful as an artist or a writer. So yeah, I'm kind of like in the middle on that. But it's not something that I view as needing to be cured, because it's part of who I am and it's part of what makes me creative and gives me the skills I have and the things I want to use going forward. I just need to make sure that it's not in control of me. I have to kind of get in control of it. So the event I have here is, I just basically wrote AKA a high, so just one of the highs I get. So I went from 1 to 5 with the feelings. So stage 1, it's hard to do these. I usually, when I wrote this, I started from 5 and worked down, so I think I'll do that here. So the top stage, when I realise obviously there's something wrong, is I feel dangerous, I feel out of control, and I feel like I'm spiralling. I feel a lot more things, which I wrote in my diary over there, but the diary is private, so so much in that diary that I could use in these and in the sessions, but that is for me. So a step down from that would be feeling manic, exhilarated and energetic. So you can see how like feeling like you're kind of manic and exhilarated and energetic is probably the highest you want it to go. You don't really want to get into a feeling of being dangerous and out of control and like you're not looking after yourself. So the kind of midsection is feeling elation and being inspired and feeling jubilant. And this is the nice part of the high. This is the part where it's not too strong. It's just you are able to function pretty well and you're able to express yourself pretty well. Because when I hit like the 5 part, I actually, I don't really function particularly well, so that's even more frustrating because I have all these like racing thoughts and everything, but I can't apply them. Whereas the midpoint is that's the best part, right? So going down from that is a feeling of just enjoyment or being excited. You know, I feel like excited by life, that's pleasant. And the first one is where I might feel like distracted or entertained. Now let me explain distracted. My mid-setting, because I have anxiety, is always quite kind of on edge. And I've only kind of realised that, like as I've got older and done therapy, that I'm on edge a lot. Like that's kind of a midpoint for me, so it's actually rarer for me to feel calm. That's unusual. And I think I said in a video ages ago that I wish I could feel bored. I don't get boredom. Like for example, what I thought was boredom was not. It was like a frustration and irritability. Like when I used to do math lessons at school, I used to feel like, oh my god, I could just run from this room or throw something or just scribble out my page because I was irritated and frustrated by not liking what we were doing. But it wasn't boredom. I don't know if I have felt boredom in a very, very long time. So when I say distracted, I can be really happy. Like for example, this is why I love reading and I love art and I love watching television, because it gives me that distraction and allows me to be calm. It allows me to kind of dip into other stories and other worlds, and it just distracts me from all the stuff that's going on in my life and it makes me feel really good. So that was number 1. So let's go for physical sensations. So we'll start, I'm going to confuse you now, and go from 1 to 5. So the increase in physical sensations. So it starts at a sort of calmishness. So it's not like super calm, but it's kind of like, oh, I'm enjoying this, you know, I'm okay. And then it starts going up. So the next physical sensation is that my heart might race, I might start shaking, my leg probably will start tapping or jiggling, and I have to like fiddle with something. So then my movements start to be increased and my kind of productivity improves. So I will kind of move fast and get things done quickly, and oh, I need this, it's fine, I'll just get that, I'll just do that, I'm doing this, I'm being really fast. And then moving up to number 4, I start to get kind of too expressive. I might actually get this feeling of kind of like shaking inside, like a sort of vibration inside my body. What I get as well, I don't know if anyone else gets this, but I get these kind of weird shots of energy and pain in my arms here that makes me feel like it's just really bizarre. It's like an aching but sharp pain that only happens when I have like a sort of manic high. And then at the highest point, I feel like my skin is burning and itching, and I feel like it's crawling. It feels like when you've got restless leg syndrome, but all over your body. So I feel numb. I feel like I feel this physical weight, like a pulling in my chest. Like I want to just rip my own chest open. You think that's dramatic, but when you're actually at that state, you actually think about it. You do think, surely that would free the feeling if I were to just rip my own chest open. I remember trying to explain this to my mum once, because we chat about this sometimes. Like my mum has her own like issues with like mental health, and so in some ways it's good to talk to her because we have like some similar ground, and it's been good to, we're both on medication and things like that, so we get each other like that. We can share the experience, for example, of accidentally missing a dose and then getting really ill. But I've tried to explain this thing to her, and she can't understand how when you feel that good, you could want to hurt yourself from that. So that's kind of, it's hard to get people to explain who don't get it. And I know this is something, people who have bipolar understand this because I know they have similar experiences. When you are that high, it's like you don't have that caution, you don't have that care for yourself, so you might do things that are risky and impulsive and put you in danger, and you just don't even consider it. So my thoughts from 1 to 5 here would be, so I've got in the first section is, oh, I love this, like, brilliant work I'm watching. I'd like to see more of it. Again, we're using the example that it's being triggered from like the excitement of watching like a TV show or something, but it could be any like exciting event. It just so happened that I was enjoying watching a TV show last night. And then it moves up to, this is amazing. I feel connected to this, and now I feel seen and excited. I want to emulate this in some way. The third one is suddenly goes up to, I want to run. Oh wow, I'm alive. I need to create. I need to get my thoughts down. The fourth section here goes up to, what does anything matter? It's too slow. It's also ridiculous and beautiful, and none of it's real. Number 5 goes up to, I need to die to escape this. I mean, when you talk like 0 to 100, I mean, try having this disorder, you know. I need to die to escape this. It's too much. It's overwhelming. It's exhausting. I need to be free of my body. This is a sign I'm not supposed to be here. I am aware that to people watching this who, again, don't have the emotional intensity disorder, this will sound absolutely bizarre, but if you do have it, then I hope that this reassures you, because I don't see a lot of people talking about this and how, like, suddenly up or suddenly down you can go in terms of the actual thought processes, because it can feel embarrassing to be like that exposed and to be like, yeah, so that's what my brain does. But I do want to talk about that in this series and to have this out there because A, it's good for myself to understand myself, and B, I think I know from the group that sometimes if someone says something that I wouldn't dare to say, but I have experienced that, like, the feeling is so good. I won't say what someone said the other day. Someone said something in the session and I thought, oh my god, girl, I've had the exact same thought. Wow. So one of the filters involved in this would be, for example, defectiveness, or the idea that you don't fit in. So it's kind of weird tying filters to this kind of activity, but I suppose it's this idea of nobody gets me, nobody gets how high I am, nobody gets how much I need this, and nobody is on my level, not in like a arrogant sense, in terms of on the same sort of, when you are like super high up, you want other people around you to be high up too, so it can be really frustrating when other people are just at like a normal pace. So there's entitlement here as well, and entitlement isn't something I get in terms of like, oh, I'm better than other people or anything like that, but in the sense, I wrote this one down because I think in the sense I can have whatever I want, in terms of not over other people, but in terms of starting to feel almost like, not invincible, because it's actually a feeling of vulnerability, but it's a feeling of, do you know what the hell, I'm gonna do whatever, what does it matter? And the last one that links to this is the filter of emotional deprivation, which is, I'll never get the love I need, because I think I start to get low because I start to think, it's weird, I don't like talking about this, but I kind of feel like when you have a brain that kind of is like mine, and luckily lots of other people do have similar brains, and there are, like I said, there are pros to it as well, like there are brilliant sides to all this, but you kind of feel like, wow, that's a lot to deal with, and sometimes I think, oh god, like how am I going to find like that one person in this world that is going to get me and put up with me and be able to accept all this weirdness about me, because I do know that I'm not like an easy person to sort of, I certainly am not an easy person to date, for example. So yeah, that makes me feel concerned, and I think especially because I'm heading towards I'm going to be 25 in April, so I'm going to be starting to look at life a bit more seriously, I think, in the next few years, and it's one of those things where you think, oh god, like, ugh, who's going to put up with this? Yeah, they deserve a medal, whoever they are in the future, should they turn up, but yeah, that's a hard one, thinking that you'll never get the love you need because no one's gonna get it. Like, it does make you feel really alienated and strange and embarrassed, actually. I think I've heard someone, can I reveal this? Yes, I won't say who, but yeah, someone who I know who has bipolar, for example, spoke to me about feeling embarrassed afterwards, you know, at how high they had been, and yeah, it shouldn't feel embarrassing, but it kind of is, because it's like a feeling of a lack of control. Kind of, I don't drink, but I imagine it's how it might feel after you've been very drunk, and then the next day your friends are like, oh, you danced naked on the tables. It's kind of like that, only with no drink. So action urges are the next category here on the continuum. So at the first stage, my action urges are just to laugh and to connect with people and talk about how I feel and express it, and I often engage online, like on Twitter, like if I've enjoyed a TV show, I'll chat to other fans. I like that because it makes you feel seen. This is pretty healthy. It's nice to just share in something you love, or if it's something Dan and I watch, we just like text each other constantly about it. The next stage will be like a feeling of wanting to, I've actually put here a feeling of wanting to dance, because I am actually someone who like dances around the house all the time. I know everyone does that anyway, but I just do that all the time. So the next stage is that I start to like try and physically gather things to, I sound like a magpie, but to try and make myself feel like I'm part of this happiness and to stay in it and to sustain it. So for example, I might, in a healthy way, I might look at, for example, the poster of Pietro up here from the MCU. I might get myself a poster or draw a picture of someone in the show I like, or something that will make me feel connected to that world and will keep my inspiration flowing. And because it's addictive, that feeling, you know, you want to feel so up there and so like, oh, I could do anything. This is the stage where I'm most likely to write or to create or to do art. This is when I write music. In this state I can just write music so fast. So then the fourth stage of the action urges, it starts to get a little bit darker, because all this energy is building up but it's got nowhere to go. There's no outlet. So this is when I might start to think about self-harm. So I start thinking about hurting myself. So I think about like smacking myself or punching myself, or I went through a stage a while ago where I was like punching myself a lot in the arms, and I used to have like these horrible like bruises all over my arms, and it was just not a good time, because in some ways I considered that was better than cutting, but actually it was bad, because you'd wake up the next day and you'd be in so much pain, and it was just not nice at all. So also I've got here like just other like impulsive behaviour. So, you know, you become more reckless and impulsive and do things that you wouldn't otherwise do. And then when you hit the final stage, the action urges get to the extreme point of actually just wanting to kill yourself, wanting to cut, wanting to take pills, wanting to jump in front of a car, wanting to run away, wanting to put myself in a dangerous situation just to leave it to fate to see if I'll die. So again, yeah, that's pretty extreme, and it's weird because you only really notice it at the fourth stage. That's when I tend to notice it. But if I can catch these early, I can stop it from getting to the whole it's time to die stage. We don't want that. We don't want that at all. So that was pretty much what we went through today, and I don't know if that will have made much sense to you if you're not someone who's done the emotional intensity continuums, because it's taken me a while to kind of get used to it. So again, it's just essentially, it's splitting the different sections into 5 and looking at it like it's a staircase. So you will notice the huge emotion when you've hit the 5 point. When you've come out of that, maybe the next day, think about what led you there, move backwards through it. So think about your most extreme sensations and then move slowly down. And you can kind of like make a pathway back and it starts to make sense. But again, I don't want to ever tone down my enthusiasm and in some ways my obsession for things, because that is what makes me who I am. That's what makes me someone who writes all the time and the sort of person who novelised the entire Cursed Child play over one summer, and you know, that kind of thing is good for what I want to do. You know, it's good for someone who wants to be a writer and is into all that kind of thing. Like, to me, that is not a flaw at all in any way, but I do need to make sure that it's not ever getting to an extent where I hurt myself. And in some ways I think about Van Gogh here, and I know it's different because Van Gogh's issues were different to mine, but it's that thing of if only Van Gogh could have harnessed like that beautiful creative energy he had without it getting to the point where it really harmed him. Like, if only there was that middle point. And a lot of people say things like, oh, but if Van Gogh was treated properly, then we wouldn't have all this wonderful art. Well, I think we probably would have a lot of wonderful art. I think if for example, Van Gogh was around today and getting the treatment, I think he would still be producing beautiful art, but he just wouldn't be hurting himself as well. You know, he wouldn't be going through those terrible depressions, and in fact he'd probably have created more. He'd probably have created more art. So yeah, sometimes I see people and I don't think any less of them, but I don't understand people who don't get really into things, you know, people who just kind of do things on a surface level. I just don't understand it, because I'm someone who has to pick things apart and really investigate things. And when it comes to anything, like, I think probably that's why I like English Lit so much, because you're like really delving into stuff. I just can't understand people that don't like doing that. As much as I respect them for their own way of doing things, I just don't get it, and I wouldn't want to be different from the way I am. Anyway, I'm gonna go because, like I said, I've got an assignment due, so I need to knuckle down and do that, which is frustrating because what I really want to do is complete my Umbrella Academy essay, video essay, but that will be up very soon. That's mostly done. So watch this space, anyone who enjoys that show, for a video essay by me. I want to start doing some more video essays, because it's like a combination of everything I love, which is TV, but English lit at the same time. I love it. So I love you loads. I will see you really soon. I hope this was helpful. I'm aware this one probably wasn't so helpful because it was more personal to me, but I still needed to get this down because I made a promise to myself that I would document this journey, and also I'm a quarter of the way there, so well done me. I didn't drop out, I'm still there. Okay, and love you loads, and I'll see you really soon. Okay, bye.